I'm good at not thinking about things. I feel them rising up in me, and I push them back down, like rubbish in the bin. Some people might say that not thinking about things is a bad idea, but what's the point? What am I supposed to do about someone like Roth or Gatto or any of them? On the way to school, I wasn't thinking about anything except the scrunched Coke can I was kicking. I knew there'd be a gang of kids at the school gates, but I always just walked through them, and I hardly ever got bothered. All you have to do is keep looking down, making sure you don't catch an eye. So I was doing that, my attention on the ground, and it's amazing how interesting tarmac can be. Then I felt a hand on my chest. Should watch where you're going. Might bump into something. Do yourself some harm. Bates. Then a deeper voice. Paul, come here. Roth. I looked up. Roth was leaning against the open school gate. Miller cringed and capered beside him. I felt a rush of hatred for him. Miller, I mean. Even more than for Roth. I suppose it's because you always hate the one right above you in the order of things, and not the one at the top. What do you want? I said, meaning to look Roth in the eye, but it was impossible. My eyes slid off his face like a greasy egg sliding off a plate. But still, even if I couldn't meet his black eyes, it wasn't the kind of thing you said to Roth. What you said to Roth was, yes? Miller's laugh cut the cold morning air, high and mocking, except it didn't have the brains in it to mock, just a noise. Did Roth's blank expression change? I don't know, maybe just a flicker of something. A smile, perhaps, or a sneer, or a grimace. He beckoned me and repeated, "Come here." There was no obvious threat in his voice. There didn't have to be. Without even meaning to, I acted on his words. Before I reached him, Roth sprang forward from the gate. I flinched, expecting to be punched or worse, but all I felt was his arm around my shoulders again, heavy as a corpse. He shunted me away from the gates and the mob of kids there, down toward the beck. Miller and Bates followed. You delivered my little surprise then? He whispered deafeningly into my ear. Yeah. To Gatto. Yeah. To Gatto himself, and not one of his mates? Yeah. Roth waited, his face expectant. I didn't say anything. Roth. And what? Roth had taken his arm from around me now. He looked me full in the face, for the first time ever. There was something juvenile, unsure about him. Listen, Vardaman. I've gone easy on you. Stuff you've done and stuff you've said, well, it could have gotten you in trouble. But I always thought you had something. That you and me could have been mates. Thought we understood each other. But if you're messing with me... You could have got me killed. They had a knife. My voice cracked when I said knife. Miller laughed. Roth flicked out sideways with his hand and caught him full in the mouth. Miller went down holding his face. Shut it, said Roth, not even looking at Miller. Vardaman's right. He did us a job. Went behind enemy lines. More. Went into the den of the beast. And he came back. Get some respect for that. All right? The movement had been minimal, but getting hit by Roth was never a joke. And Miller was on his knees, rocking and weeping silently. I said, all right? Yeah, sorry. I stopped hating Miller. For a while. Tell me what happened. I did what you said. I found Gatto in the sports ground, gave him the box. He was with his mates. They opened it. Yeah? Ross was so excited he was almost drooling. He was watching me, the way a drunk looks at a bottle. When they found it... What? Go on. I replayed the scene in my head. Gatto's horror, the near insanity of his reaction. I could have told Roth that, but I didn't want to give him the pleasure. He thought it was funny. Funny? Yeah, he said he'd been trying to get rid of the dog. Roth turned to Bates. You told me that he loved the dog. You said he lived for it. Yeah, Roth, he did. Everyone knew that. Loved it. Doesn't sound like it. He didn't seem that bothered to me, I said. Well, how come you said you could have been killed then? You said they had a knife. Just because Gato wasn't bothered about his dog doesn't mean he doesn't know what you were trying to do. Roth thought for a while. You did all right. Thought you'd have run before they got you. Didn't mean them to hurt you. He touched the plaster on my cheek. What's under there? Then I told him what Goddard did to me with the dog's head. I kept it straight. I didn't bother adding anything about the stink of it, or anything like that. I think it reached him. I think he felt something. I don't mean sorry about what he did, but what he felt was that it was an affront to him. They'd put the dog's jaws around my face, and that meant they'd done it to him. You did all right, he said, yet again nodding. I felt that something had changed somehow. I'd come over. I was with him. I mean, that's what he thought. I've got something for you, he said. Miller was off the floor by now, and he and Bates were close beside us. Roth reached into his jacket. I felt excited. I didn't want to, but that's how it was. What was really weird was that this was the only time I'd ever tried to stand up to Roth. I mean, by telling him the lie about Gato. And yet, I'd somehow found myself closer to him. It was like the bad dream, where I was a monster chasing you, and you felt his breath on your neck, but suddenly you find it standing right in front of you, and rather than running from it, you run to it. Put your hand out. I opened my palm. And then, it was there, on my hand. Heavy, solid, slick, perfect. It was 20 centimeters long. The handle was dark wood, with a polished brass guard, where the grip was joined to the blade. And what a blade! The underside curved smoothly to a drawn-out tip. The line of it leaf-soft, like a living thing. The top of the blade echoed the underside and its tip. But then, lost to the gentle curving form, became a row of violent, sharp teeth. I drew my thumb and caressed the line of the serrations the way you'd tease the ruffled fur on a cat's neck. I knew what they were for. You could catch another blade with those teeth and hold it or break it, and if you sank that blade into the soft belly, then the teeth would multiply the harm, turn a cut into a vacant, ragged mouth, spewing out its life in a red fountain. For a few seconds, nothing existed in the world except me and the knife. No narrower than that. The knife hand that held it, the eye that drank in its beauty. Nothing else was left of me. Nice, eh? I stirred myself. Nice? Yeah. Now put that away. You don't talk about it. You don't show it. Understand? I nodded. Something else. Roth came close to me again. Intimate, confiding. His huge face filled the world, the way the moon sometimes seems to take up the whole sky. Something you'll understand. Not something for these apes here. These baboons. You have this, and there's nothing, no one you ever need be afraid of. You get it? Yeah, but that's not all I'm saying. You see, because you're not afraid, you don't need to hate. That's the beautiful thing about it. A smile spread across his face like a tear in the universe. It was one of the most terrible things I'd ever seen. That smile, those small white teeth, each one separate. And if you don't hate, then you're happy. You get it? Yeah. You with me? And his eyes were moist, shining with joy and the beauty of what he was saying. Ross was so close to me now, I could feel his breath. I didn't really know what he was talking about, but that was more because I was still living in the knife, because I nodded, longing to get away from him, longing to be alone with the knife. It was only later that I realized that Ross was insane. Here, and put it in this, he said, holding out a black leather sheath, so you don't stab yourself in the nuts. Harsh laughter from Bates and Miller, the apes of Ross.